Gentlemen, I need you to lean in for a moment because what I'm about to tell you is not random, it's not accidental. This is divine alignment. Sometimes, before God does something big in your life, He doesn't announce it with a trumpet, He whispers it with signs. And when it comes to a woman of faith, a daughter of the King, those signs are not ordinary. They're supernatural. Confirmations that God is setting you up, not for something small, not for something average, but for something big. And I believe that some of you listening right now are on the edge of a breakthrough. You've been wrestling with doubts, distractions, and delays, but God is about to shift your season. Today, I want to show you 7 signs that He's preparing to move in a mighty way in a woman's life. And if you can recognize these signs, you won't just wait differently, you'll walk differently. You'll believe differently because you'll know that what's coming is greater than what you've been through. Asterisk, there are seasons in life when a woman feels an unshakable stirring deep within her soul, a kind of restlessness that she cannot fully explain to anyone else. It is not the kind of restlessness that comes from worry or fear. It is a holy uneasiness, a spiritual shift, a gentle nudge from heaven that says, something greater is on the horizon. When God is preparing to do something big in a woman's life, one of the first signs she will often notice is this unusual restlessness, this inner movement that disrupts her comfort zone and awakens her spirit to the reality that change is coming. It may not make sense to her natural mind, because on the outside nothing may look different. Her routines, her responsibilities, her relationships might all appear the same, but on the inside she knows she is no longer satisfied with where she is. This is God's way of preparing her heart for the new season He is about to usher in. This restlessness is not meant to frustrate her, but to awaken her. Many times we cling tightly to the familiar, to the predictable, to the safety of what we have always known. But when God has something greater in store, He will not allow us to stay stuck in the old. He begins to create a holy discomfort, a divine dissatisfaction, so that we can no longer settle for less than His best. It may show up as a longing for more meaning in her work, a hunger for deeper relationships, or a desire to step into a calling that has been quietly burning inside her for years. This longing is heaven's way of saying, "Daughter, I am preparing you for more. Do not ignore this stirring, lean into it." Sometimes, this restlessness will manifest as sleepless nights, when her mind cannot shake the thought that she was created for something greater. Other times, it will show up in conversations when she hears a word, a phrase, or even a sermon that seems to echo exactly what she has been sensing in her spirit. It can feel like God is speaking directly to her, confirming what she has been feeling, but couldn't put into words. And while others may dismiss it as random or insignificant, she knows that something supernatural is taking place within her. It is important to understand that this kind of spiritual restlessness is not the same as anxiety. Anxiety drains, but this restlessness energizes. Anxiety confuses, but this restlessness clarifies. It is as though God is lifting her vision higher, showing her glimpses of what could be, so she will not settle for what has always been. It is His way of enlarging her capacity, stretching her faith, and preparing her spirit to receive something greater. The woman who feels this stirring may not have all the answers. She may not know exactly what the future holds, but she carries within her an assurance that God is about to shift her into a new dimension of purpose and destiny. This is why, when a woman senses unusual spiritual restlessness, she must not rush to silence it or push it aside. Instead, she should lean in, pray more, listen more, and create space for God to reveal what He is doing. Because often, the restlessness is the seed of revelation. It is the prelude to breakthrough. It is God whispering, "Get ready. I am about to move in your life." What feels unsettling is actually preparation. What feels uncomfortable is actually divine positioning. And if she trusts the process, she will soon discover that this restlessness was not random. It was the very sign that God was about to release something big, something she had been praying for, something she could not even imagine. When God is about to do something big in a woman's life, one of the clearest signs is the experience of doors closing, opportunities, relationships, or seasons that once seemed to flow easily suddenly begin to shut. At first, this can feel confusing, even painful. She may wonder why things that used to work are no longer working, why paths that once brought joy now feel heavy, or why people she thought would always be there begin to drift away. It is natural to see closed doors as rejection or failure, but from heaven's perspective, a closed door is often divine redirection. God does not close doors to punish his daughters. He closes them to protect them and to push them toward the greater purpose he has designed for their lives. A woman may pray for clarity and then feel frustrated when a door shuts, but that shut door might be the very answer to her prayer. It may be God saying, "Not here, not this, not with them." The truth is, we often cannot see the dangers or limitations behind a door we are eager to walk through, but God sees what we cannot. He knows the full picture. He knows which relationships will hold us back, which jobs will drain us instead of grow us, and which opportunities look good but are not God. So in his wisdom, he redirects us by shutting down paths we would have otherwise chosen. Though painful in the moment, those closures are an act of love, not rejection. Closed doors also test faith. When things stop working out, it is tempting for a woman to believe that she has failed or that she has been forgotten. But God uses these seasons to stretch her trust in him. It is easy to have faith when everything is flowing smoothly. It is harder when she has to stand before a locked door and still declare, "God, I trust that you have something better." That kind of faith refines her character, deepens her reliance on him, and prepares her for the weight of the blessing he is about to release. Closed doors are not the end of the story. They are simply the pause before a greater chapter begins. There are countless examples of this divine redirection. A woman may apply for a job she thought was perfect for her and face rejection, only to later discover a position far greater than what she ever imagined. She may mourn the end of a relationship, not realizing that God is clearing the space for someone who will honor and support her calling. She may feel frustrated when a project or dream seems to stall, only to later understand that the timing was not right and that God was aligning everything to work out better than she could plan. Every closed door carries within it the hidden message of God's protection and redirection. The key is not to fight the closures, but to trust them. Instead of forcing open what God has shut, a woman must learn to release it and lean into his leading. This requires discernment, because not every closed door is permanent. Sometimes God says not now rather than not ever. But when he makes it clear that a chapter is closing, it is always because a new one is about to unfold. She does not lose by trusting him, she only gains. In the end, closed doors are never about loss. They are about positioning. God closes one opportunity to align her with the one that will fulfill her destiny. He ends one season to prepare her for the next. And while she may not see the full picture in the moment, if she looks back later, she will realize that every no was leading her closer to the greater yes he had prepared all along. The doors that closed were not setbacks, they were setups for the breakthrough she was about to step into. Another sign that God is about to do something big in a woman's life is when she begins to notice uncommon favor showing up in the small things. This favor may not always look dramatic at first, It often begins subtly, in moments that could easily be overlooked if she is not paying attention. It may be the unexpected kindness of a stranger, a door opening in a situation where she had no connections, or an opportunity that comes her way without her striving for it. These seemingly small blessings are often God's way of confirming that His hand is upon her, and that He is aligning circumstances for something much greater than she can see right now. The beauty of uncommon favor is that it does not depend on her qualifications, her status, or her ability to make things happen. It is purely the result of God's grace, marking her steps and reminding her that He is orchestrating her journey. A woman may walk into a room where she feels unnoticed, yet someone chooses to see her, support her, or give her a chance. She may receive encouragement at the exact moment she was about to give up. She may find resources, guidance, or solutions arriving precisely when she needs them most, without her striving or stressing. These are not coincidences, they are divine signals that heaven is backing her up, that God is going before her and preparing the way. Uncommon favor in small things is often preparation for larger blessings. God uses these small moments to strengthen her faith, to teach her to recognize His hand, and to remind her that what He is about to release will not be achieved by her own effort alone. Sometimes we get so focused on the big breakthrough that we overlook the small evidences of God's presence that surround us every day. But when a woman begins to see those little doors opening, those small but significant victories taking place, she can be assured that something greater is on its way. The same God who shows up in the details will also show up in the destiny. This kind of favor also serves as encouragement during seasons of waiting. When the big dream or the big breakthrough has not yet manifested, those small touches of grace act like signposts along the road, reminding her that she is moving in the right direction. It is like God whispering, "Daughter, I see you. Keep walking. I am with you, and I am preparing something beyond what you can imagine." These moments remind her that she is not forgotten, that her labor is not in vain, and that God is paying attention to the desires of her heart. There is also a humbling beauty in recognizing God's favor in the little things. It teaches her gratitude, reminding her to celebrate progress even when it feels small. A woman who can praise God for a little victory will be the same woman who can handle a greater blessing with humility. God often measures our readiness for the big by how we steward the small. If she can see His fingerprints in the little details, she will be able to carry the weight of the bigger miracles with faith and responsibility. In time, these small evidences of favor begin to accumulate, and she realizes that they were never small at all. They were the stepping stones toward a much larger plan. What felt like little doors were actually gateways into bigger ones. What seemed like minor blessings were actually rehearsals for major breakthroughs. And as she looks back, she will see how each small moment of favor was woven together by God's hand to create a story far greater than she could have ever written on her own. One of the clearest signs that God is preparing to do something big in a woman's life is when she begins to experience increased opposition and resistance. It often seems that just before the breakthrough, the battles intensify. Situations that were once stable suddenly become shaky. Relationships that felt secure begin to be tested, and challenges arise from unexpected places. To the natural eye, it may look like everything is falling apart, but in reality, it is evidence that something greater is on the way. The enemy does not waste energy attacking someone who is standing still. He reserves his fiercest attacks for those who are on the verge of stepping into their God-given purpose. This resistance can take many forms. It may appear as external opposition, such as criticism, betrayal, or obstacles in her career or calling. It may also show up as internal battles, doubts, fears, insecurities, or even exhaustion that tries to convince her to quit before she sees the promise fulfilled. These battles can feel overwhelming, but they are actually a confirmation that she is moving in the right direction. Just as labor pains intensify before the birth of a child, spiritual resistance often increases just before the birth of a new season. The pressure is a sign that what she has been carrying is about to be delivered. Opposition also reveals the strength God has been building within her. Sometimes a woman may not realize how much resilience and faith she has until she faces resistance that forces her to rise above it. The enemy's attacks are designed to break her, but God uses them to make her stronger, sharper, and more prepared for the destiny ahead. In these seasons, what was meant for harm often becomes the very tool God uses for growth. The challenges become training grounds, shaping her character, deepening her prayer life, and strengthening her reliance on Him. It is also important to recognize that resistance is often an indicator of territory. The enemy fights hardest where the ground is most valuable. If she feels an unusual amount of pushback, it is because she is approaching something significant. It means there is destiny attached to the space she is about to enter. Instead of discouraging her, opposition should alert her that she is closer to the promise than ever before. Just as darkness intensifies before the dawn, spiritual battles often intensify before breakthrough. In these moments, the temptation is to give up, to retreat, or to question if God is really moving. But if she can hold on, if she can push through the resistance with faith and persistence, she will discover that the very place of struggle becomes the place of victory. Many times, the enemy tries to get her to quit because he knows he cannot stop what God has already ordained. He can only try to discourage her enough to walk away from it herself. That is why resilience and unwavering faith are so critical in these seasons. Ultimately, opposition and resistance are not signs of abandonment, they are signs of acceleration. They mean she is closer than ever to stepping into the new thing God has prepared for her. The storms that come are not random, they are evidence that the enemy is terrified of what she is about to carry. If she can endure the pressure, trust God through the resistance, and refuse to quit in the face of opposition, she will walk into the season that God has been preparing for her all along. What looked like a battle was really a breakthrough in disguise, and what felt like resistance was proof that she was standing on the edge of something big. Another sign that God is about to do something big in a woman's life is the sudden appearance of divine connections and relationships. These are not ordinary friendships or casual encounters. They are purposeful alignments orchestrated by God to help her walk into her next season. At times, they may arrive unexpectedly through chance meetings, surprising conversations, or even reconnections with people from the past. These connections carry weight because they are not just about companionship, they are about destiny. God knows that no one steps into their calling alone, and when He is preparing to elevate a woman into something greater, He will surround her with the right voices, the right mentors, the right encouragers, and the right partners to help her move forward. Often, divine connections show up when she least expects them. She may find herself in the right place at the right time, meeting someone who opens a door she could never have opened on her own. Or she may encounter someone who speaks words of wisdom and confirmation exactly when she needed them most. These connections may not always be grand or dramatic, but they carry a deep sense of purpose. There is often a spiritual recognition, as though her spirit knows this relationship is not accidental. God has placed this person in my path for a reason. What makes these relationships different is the fruit they produce. Divine connections do not drain, they empower. They do not distract, they align. They do not pull her backward. They push her closer to the calling God has placed on her life. Sometimes these people will challenge her to grow, calling out gifts she did not even realize she carried. Other times they will serve as protectors, covering her in prayer and standing with her when battles come. And often they will simply walk with her, offering encouragement and wisdom as she steps into uncharted territory. At the same time, God often clears away relationships that cannot go with her into the next season. Just as He brings the right people, He also removes the wrong ones. This can be painful because it may involve losing people she thought would always be there. But this too is an act of love. God knows that not every relationship is equipped to handle the weight of her future. Some people are only meant to walk with her for a season, while others are appointed to stand with her for a lifetime. Recognizing the difference is part of discerning divine connections. Divine relationships also serve as confirmation that she is on the right path. When God aligns her with people who see her potential, affirm her calling, and push her toward growth, it is a signal that He is setting the stage for something greater. These people often arrive with timely words, needed resources, or simple encouragement that keeps her moving forward when she feels like giving up. They are reminders that she is not walking this journey alone, that God is intentional about surrounding her with support as she steps into something bigger. The key is to remain sensitive and prayerful about these connections. Not every new relationship is divine, and not every opportunity comes from God. A woman must learn to discern by looking for peace, fruit, and alignment with God's Word. True divine connections will never pull her away from God's presence. They will draw her closer. They will never ask her to compromise her integrity. Instead, they will strengthen her character and faith. When a woman begins to notice these kinds of relationships forming, she can be assured that God is preparing her for more. He is aligning her with people who will walk with her into the promise, who will help her carry the weight of the calling, and who will celebrate the victories with her when the breakthrough comes. These connections are not random. They are divine markers, reminding her that God has a plan and that He will never send her into her destiny unprepared or unsupported. When God is preparing to do something big in a woman's life, one of the most powerful signs is the way He begins to speak to her more clearly through prayer and His Word. Suddenly, scriptures she has read many times before seem to leap off the page and speak directly to her current season. Her prayer life feels different, more alive, more urgent, more intimate, as though heaven itself is leaning in to remind her that God is near and guiding every step. This is not a coincidence. It is a sign of divine preparation. When God is about to elevate her into something greater, He ensures that she is anchored in His voice, because the weight of the blessing she is about to carry requires clarity, direction, and strength that can only come from Him. This fresh revelation often comes during quiet moments with God. She may be praying about a situation and suddenly feel peace flood her spirit, even though nothing in her circumstances has changed. Or she may hear a sermon, a song, or a word of encouragement that feels like it was written just for her. These moments are God's way of confirming that He is not only aware of her journey, but is actively guiding her through it. The Word becomes alive and personal, transforming from mere text on a page into a direct message from the Father's heart to hers. It is in these seasons that God often gives specific instructions, warnings, or confirmations. He may highlight a particular scripture to remind her of His promises. He may stir her heart in prayer to release what no longer serves her or to prepare her for what is coming. Sometimes he will impress upon her spirit the courage to take a step of faith that seems impossible. Other times he will whisper, "Wait, not yet, trust my timing." The clarity she receives is not always about knowing every detail of the future, but about knowing enough to take the next step with confidence. This kind of revelation is also deeply protective. As she draws closer to God in prayer and stays rooted in His Word, she gains discernment. She becomes less swayed by distractions, less shaken by the opinions of others, and more attuned to the voice of the shepherd who leads her. In a world full of noise and conflicting voices, this ability to hear Him clearly is priceless. It ensures that when opportunities come, she knows which ones are from Him and which ones are not. It helps her walk with wisdom, guarding her from mistakes that could derail her destiny. Fresh revelation also serves as fuel for faith. When she hears God's voice in her spirit or sees His word confirmed in her life, her confidence grows. Even if she is walking through challenges, she knows she is not walking alone. She carries the assurance that the same God who spoke to her in prayer will also fulfill the promises He has placed before her. This inner strength keeps her from giving up when the journey gets hard. It reminds her that what she is waiting for is worth it, and that her breakthrough is closer than she thinks. Ultimately, when God is about to do something big, He prepares His daughters not just by changing their circumstances, but by changing their hearts through His presence. The revelation she receives in prayer and in the Word is what sustains her, shapes her, and strengthens her to handle the blessing when it arrives. It teaches her that she is not moving forward in her own wisdom, but under divine instruction. And when she finally steps into the new season, she will know without a doubt that it was God who led her there, because His voice was guiding her all along.